Martin Scorsese is continuing to examine the themes he has been working with since The Wolf of Wall Street in 2013, creating long films. His shortest in this cycle is Silence at 2 hours and 41 minutes, that take us through a story we think we've seen before, and utilizing the extra time he's carved out to push these themes, evil in man, greed, violence and their effects, into territories other filmmakers have never reached. Killers of the Flower Moon is a film depicting the Osage Reign of Terror in the 1920s. Our main character is Ernest Burkhart, a war veteran returning to the States and living in Oklahoma with his uncle, who is a strong supporter of the Osage people, of whom many have come into a vast fortune as oil was discovered on the reservation. Ernest meets and quickly marries an Osage woman named Molly, but their life together is riddled with trauma, as many members of Molly's family start dying all around her. Molly is desperate to figure out who is causing these murders, but little does she know, or perhaps she always did, the guilty are closer to her than she ever imagined. Killers of the Flower Moon is the darkest film of Scorsese's career. The film carries the feeling of the final hour of The Irishman, where we are faced with the cold, brutal reality of murder throughout its entire runtime. No killing is glorified or stylized. The camera only moves to keep the violence in the center of the frame, never letting the audience off the hook. Instead of placing us in the perspective of the victims of this film, or the law enforcement trying to solve a mystery, we spend the most time with the perpetrators. We know exactly who is guilty from minute one. In doing so, Martin Scorsese chooses not to create a story of tension and mystery, but a long meditation about terrible people and how easy it is for them to self-justify their crimes and even ignore the clear guilt they should be feeling. This film is the biggest challenge Scorsese has ever placed in front of an audience. Scorsese and cinematographer Rodrigo Prieto choose to minimize the camera work in favor of letting the characters take center stage. But nonetheless, Scorsese has created some of his most haunting images to date. A hand holding a gun appearing from behind a curtain with murderous intent, shadows of a possible intruder gliding by a window, men distorted by intense flames as their pickaxes and shovels violently clash into the ground. With Scorsese's restraint, we are given even more depth into the characters' minds and the meaning of their actions. Produced by Apple, the film was given a $200 million budget, and it's wonderful to see every cent of it on the screen. Scorsese packs every scene with props, extras, costumes, and buildings that place you directly into the time period. The film carries the massive weight of an epic, the likes we haven't seen since the glory days of Ben-Hur and Lawrence of Arabia. The widest shots are filled to the brim with details. The film is long but never outstays its welcome. You are constantly engaged with the characters and situations. The film features one of the best ensembles this year. Leonardo DiCaprio helms one of the most complicated characters in his career. Ernest is a simple man. He's easily swayed by the influence of his uncle. He commits evil crimes but isn't privy to the meaning behind them. All he cares about is the money he's being promised to by his uncle. Is Ernest a bad person? Undoubtedly yes, but so much about him makes you question these things and keeps him in a fascinating gray zone. It's very clear that he loves Molly. Their marriage is more than a power grab to him. It's been reported that Molly's real-life granddaughter requested to Scorsese to put their relationship in the foreground of the story. Robert De Niro as William Hale delivers an incredible late-career portrayal of evil, possibly the worst kind imaginable. He is a man who has gained the trust of the Native Americans around him. They praise his name and go to him for help. How easy it is for him to betray the people who trust him, all in the name of greed, is horrifying. One moment featuring William casually handing an Osage woman a flask of alcohol turned my stomach. The centerpiece of the film is Lily Gladstone as Molly. Already highly praised by every other review for this film, it is well-deserved praise. The first scene with Molly features her speaking to her guardian about withdrawing some money for a medical procedure. These guardians would manage their oil royalties and were appointed to each Osage after the United States Congress passed a law in 1921. As she is denied the money that is rightfully hers, she says few words, but the look in her eyes tell all. She is a woman who has been handled by the government as a disciplinarian handles a problem child. Even with all her wealth, she has no freedom. I wish we could have spent more time with Molly. Perhaps if the last hour could have been told from her perspective, but in the end, it seems like that choice would have lessened the impact of Scorsese's intentions. Scorsese has crafted a film that balances on a dangerously thin wire. His collaboration with the Osage community in the film's production is admirable. Without it, we would have gotten a much more hollow film. The little things keep the audience placed in the correct space, and like the Tulsa Massacre of 1921, We are shown a history we've never heard about before, but we're also being shown one of the darkest times for the Osage people. It's impossible to honestly depict the events while framing them around the people who committed the crimes without upsetting many. But Scorsese's mission is not to exploit. This film is a major statement from one of our great living directors. It's a demand to look at the past and a warning about our future.